All right. Now we're going to be talking about the challenges. So we're at the sandbox style versus railroad style, the challenges of each style. I'm going to start with Lord Mateus because I can. I can start with whomever I want. I'm starting with me. Lord Mateus, what are the main challenges you face when running a sandbox? Actually, I should start with Sean on this one because you're the pro sandbox person. I'd like you to go first. So I'm moving over to Sean. Sorry.
Indian giver.
Damn. I am. I know. I had him ready and then I snatched it from him. What are the main challenges you face when running a sandbox style game, and how do you overcome them?
Well, the main challenges are obviously you need a sort of a broad understanding of the area and the world that you've dropped your players into. So when they make a choice, you can at least have something to go on. It definitely helps. So the solution is prep. A lot of top-loaded prep. We mentioned this earlier, a little top-loaded prep about the area, at least the immediate area that they're in. Key NPCs, where are the dungeons the players are going to want to go, having a good reaction chart encounter chart for the wilderness, things like that. All of that will help. So that can be a challenge because you don't know where they're going to go. I mean, you can feed hooks and sort of suss where they're going to go based on what you've given them, but ultimately, you don't know what they're going to choose to do. So you want to have a sort of a general knowledge so you can improvise if they go completely left of center from where you thought they would go. So,
okay, so how do you ensure that a sandbox game does not become aimless or directionless?
Well, players are going to have their own goals. Now I play D&D. Now with D&D, one of the big things like AD&D, I use the monthly expenses and the training, so they're always broke. So they will always be chasing the gold. So
keep them poor.
Yeah, you keep them poor. It works. Trust me, it works. You don't have to worry about them being aimless because they don't want to go broke. And I apply a penalty to the XP they gain if they're short on their monthly expenses. This is a house rule territory, but if they're short on the monthly expenses, the deficit counts against the experience they earn on their next adventures. So they try to keep those expenses paid.
That's a good idea.
All right. Well, now we'll move over to Lord Mateus. What are the main challenges you face when running a sandbox style game, and how do you overcome them?
It kind of goes into the lore issue. I like to think about it in terms of like what your personal appendix N is. So, if you're playing in Dragonlance, make sure you know the lore of Dragonlance. So when the players do something that's a little unexpected and they decide to go off and to do this other thing, you have something at your fingertips. It might not be 100% accurate, but it's enough to keep the game going. And so I think making sure you know the world that you're in, right? But I think the big one, though, and I mentioned this in the last segment, is the passive player. Players really need to have their own goals. And if you have a player that doesn't know exactly how to do that, or they're just too timid or whatever reason, you do need to sort of step in and kind of aid them because they don't have that overarching villain they need to defeat or whatever.
Yet.
So yeah, yeah. But again, like I think if you have like what I like to do is like I have these little themes that sort of they're not quite narratives or stories or railroads, but something that kind of like informs the tone of the sandbox. That stuff kind of eventually works itself out as the players start realizing, like in my Lamentations game, mutant mushrooms are starting to take over the borderlands, so like, I guess we have to go to the temple kind of thing.
So what strategies do you use to manage the potential for player indecision?
Oh, well, I'm actually pretty heavy-handed on consequences. And that's why I have a lot of player deaths. And why like certain things have gone the way they have in Hamlet, for example. I made, for example, there's the Church of St. Cuthbert. I call that the Arn Church in my world. And they're very much like inquisitors, and they do not like magic users. So guess what happened to Byrne, who is in charge of the neutral faction of Hamlet? Well, they ignored some stuff. They left and did some adventuring. And when they came back, Byrne was crucified. so things like that start happening, and it totally shifts the tone of the campaign. Interestingly, my players actually have embraced that sort of inquisitorial take. So now they're like rolling up clerics all the time and wanting to burn people at the stake. But it's cool. I'm enjoying it. It's Lamentations. We got to have some
fair, yeah.
So.
All right,
But
Heathen Dog.
heavy-handed on the consequences.
Okay. And it's funny. That's a theme that we've been running into with a lot of folks recently. To consequences. Heathen Dog, let's just say for a moment, just close your eyes and imagine something for just a second here. You release the reins. You accidentally dropped them. And now the horse is running. This happened to me literally as a 7-year-old kid. I didn't know that relaxing the reins on a horse said, take it off. And since that time, I do not like horses. At least I'm not going to sit on one. But you let the reins go, and they ran, and they ran, and they ran, and now what the hell? Okay, let me get back to the question here. What are the main challenges you face when running a sandbox-style game, and how do you overcome that horse running off into the wilderness and possibly off the cliff?
I want to preface this with, this is pure imagination on my part, because I've never run a sandboxy game. Just like I've never been a secret cutter. So I have to imagine I hate myself that much, where I like to cut myself and cause myself pain. The only way to feel alive. It's the same for me as running a sandbox game, I imagine. So in my imagination, if I allowed a group, now I want to caveat this. This is not a group of my close friends. This is not a group that I've played with for years. Okay. Over that time, there's trust built up between player and game master. Let's say that doesn't exist. This is a random set of players in my game, and I allow them to.
So basically, you're setting up to be the worst scenario possible for doing this.
Well, no, it's just the only it's not the best scenario possible. That's it. These could be good players. I just don't know that yet. And odds are one or two are going to be just these kind of players. So I imagine that that one of my big challenges is actually going to get them to think in a group mentality, because a group that doesn't think and act together is going to ruin play for everyone. Now, again, these aren't people that have played together for years. These aren't people that know and trust each other. These are just folk. Never trust just folk. It always goes bad. You don't know, you get luck. Shut up. No, always goes bad. Trust on it. So one or two of these players are going off script of we're a group. And that's actually been, that idea has been accelerated and accentuated because of new style character creation, where Max and I, when we make characters, everyone in the group is making character at the same time. Everyone in the group is creating their character so everyone can see. So everyone understands where everyone else is coming from. And if someone tries doing something stupid, like I'm a cash neutral thief, I steal from everybody, I'm that guy who really can't play a Kender but wants to play a Kender. No, he's immediately axed. The whole group says nay, right there. No, we're not having that. Oh man. Oh well, stop that. I didn't get that. I didn't get to do that either, because that's not how current gameplay is done. So all of them have their own characters, have their own set of values, have their own goals in life, and in all likelihood, most of them don't match together. So how am I going to keep these people logically as a group when they have no lordly reason to be in a group once all of their desperate goals are uncovered?
And that is a question. So how do you overcome that?
Oh, I'm trying to stay away from don't run a sandbox game, stupid, but I can't say that. I would have to introduce peril to make them work together. Or not me. It's a sandbox game. I can't make them do shit. To encourage them to work together, eluding that only together can they survive. So basically, I have to just trauma bond these bitchy players together to make a group out of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I figure I could do that. I mean, some people like to keep them poor.
It works.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Like everyone else here, literally everyone else here,
But-
just pulls on wallet strings to keep the group going. Right. I would trauma bond them. I would make life so hard for them that the only way to survive it is to huddle together and try this whole kumbaya thing. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Hypothetically.
Just to kind of counter what Heathen Dog's saying there, though, there are these like meta considerations when we're running these games, like who's your players, and things like that. So when you announce, hey guys, I'm going to run Keep on the Borderlands, right? This classic sandbox, people know it's a sandbox, and they know the backstory is there's this keep. It's on the Borderlands, and there's these caves of chaos that are causing trouble, and people want to kind of clear up the hex so the Lord there can rule over it or whatever. So there's already a buy-in. So I don't know if you're necessarily going to have to trauma bond them, though. I'm not opposed to it. I think that could be kind of fun to do.
God damn, you are just a Old Testament kind of guy.
well, actually, I want to agree with both of you at the same time.
The way of the world.
Is if you're outside of D&D, a perfect example of both of what you both just said is Forbidden Lands. Forbidden Lands has the exploration. Forbidden Lands has the survival. Forbidden Lands has the trauma bonding. Ask me how I know, because almost every group that I run, because I've only run Forbidden Lands in one shots, starts off like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And the one character, there's always one that decides to go off on his own and act dumb. Guess what? That character sometimes doesn't make it back. You cannot, if you are running a good adventure site in Forbidden Lands, no matter how random it is, if they do not work together, they will die. One dwarf, no matter how cool he is, barring the most lucky die rolls in the world, cannot beat a Minotaur. You need the group. You need the archers back there, the dwarf taking the damage, the healer hopefully able to get up there and do his job. You have to have everybody working with some sort of synergy, or they die. And I love it because there've been no TPKs, but there have been a lot of partial PKs where people are like, whoa, okay, I guess I shouldn't have done that. Right? Right? You should not have. So sometimes a game system itself lends toward the trauma bonding.
I'm a fan of troop style play as well. So my players all have three, 4 characters apiece. And now with the AD&D game, they're all good. Like their requirement for each other was they're all of good alignment. So because they have paladins and whatnot, so that's their choice. I didn't require it, but everybody fits. Everybody, they're all acquainted. So if somebody decides, oh, I don't want to use this character and swap out, but I did the same with my Keep on the Borderlands game. We were just mentioning that, where that's not everybody knows each other, but they might decide. And we've had one character say, you know what? I don't like this NPC you hired. I think he's an asshole. And so he stormed off and then brought in another character, right? So that's another option. That's another solution for that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about on this question? Else I read chat?
Go ahead.
Because the next one will be the railroad style. Okay, let's go over here. We got a couple of super chats. Where are they? Oops. Actually, it started up here. There we go. Yep. Sandboxes and battle map reliant games are a bad fit.
Now,
I think he was saying that to
one,
somebody else, though.
I started that one because I completely disagree.
I do too.
Yeah, battle map stuff is all about the player's decisions and the decisions of the decisions of the dice. That's it. There's very little story involved once you pull out a battle map. It's all about player tactics and decisions and player tactics and dice rolls. That's it. That's
I have a random battlefield generator. Like if they're off, in the wilderness that I didn't plan for, I have a random generator. So if something happens, I create an instant battlefield with terrain and all that. So yeah, battle mats work beautifully in Sandbox.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to have players who actually like using battle maps.
Yeah, well, I do for my games. That's part and parcel. So
yeah.
I hate battle maps.
Yeah, I don't hate them. I just don't like them.
Okay. So over on the Rumble side, Law Dog for $5. Thank you very much for the actual $5. Rumble, let's just keep everything. Great discussion today. Not much to add as the panel's pretty much hitting all the main points. Have $5 anyway, just because. Well, thank you very much. I like just because money. I will throw those pennies in the air and bathe in them like.
You're dividing all that amongst us, right?
Of course I'm not.
You guys are getting paid? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the contract you signed said anyway. I think you already did. Yeah, so DM James says I use extreme brutality to keep my players in line.
See,
Hey.
yeah, that's what Mateus was saying. You know, he's the Yahweh of the world, and you know, just lightning and salt and kill your daughters and Job.
Yeah, but he said players.
I was just going to say I was referring to characters, not players.
No, DM James is brutal. He believes in brutality to the players.
To the players, like the actual people. Like, okay, get on your knees, you get whipped. You know, like, oh man, that sucks.
TM James again for $2. Thank you very much. Says I random a set of characters and hand them out. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to the game.
That is classic convention style play. You have to do that. Yeah. You're like, here's your characters. Here you go. Go. We only have 6 hours. Let's go.
Yep.
You know, but for a regular campaign, you know, people are going to want to make their own thing. You know, they're going to want to roll the dice on their own to take more, you know, emotional ownership of their character rather than just having randomly thrown at them.
I'm going to have the one that you start, Heathen Dog, go last because I want to have that segue us into the next one. So I'm going to skip past that one for just a moment. Full Metal Dragon says, turn the Care Bear players into Terror Bear players. There's a reason why I started this one. Before I met Heathen Dog, because I think that was, I got to Andrews in 1996. So my first duty station, 92 to 94, when I was in New Mexico, I was running campaigns there. And the evil campaign where they all were supposed to hate each other, where it was, yes, the drow, the vampire, the lich, the whatever the heck else was in there, Death Knight probably, I can't remember, all types of baddies in there, got along better than the good groups. And to this day, that's really bothered the crap out of me. As good players, they're all trying to mess with each other or mess with the game. But as evil, it's almost like they knew instinctively the entire world's out to get us. So we need to. I
We're
get
all
it.
we got.
Yeah. I know you're a jackass, and at some point you're gonna mess with me. But right now, let's have some fun. You know, what the? They get whatever. So that's what. What's that?
It's not illogical.
Oh, fair. It's just it
just goes against the trope. You know, I mean that was the thing. Yeah, it just goes against the trope.
Law Dog for $4.99 says it's almost impossible to avoid trauma bonding a party in a Rifts game.
That is true. Yeah, Rifts is brutal, absolutely brutal. Everywhere is darkness, danger, and death.
Not in Laszlo. Yeah. We always played in Laszlo because it's Toronto. That's where we are.
Canadians are scary when they get mad. All right, when you actually get a Canadian angry, he'll murder your children. It's crazy.
Well, where do you think Minnesotans learned the wood chipper from? Anyway, so Truffle gives us $7.61 of Australian fakeness, and he says, "Ha!" So thank you, Truffle.
Okay. So, I would love to know what joke was worth $7.61 of Monopoly money.
Truffle is just an awesome person from Australia, obviously, and has been supporting Legion Myth for a long time. So he was just laughing at me. I'll just go with that. He laughed at me. I accept it. We're gonna move on. Ethan, I'll go ahead and do your comment.
Okay. Nerdy Ogre said, wrong. It's not the GM's job to motivate the group to be a group. It's the player's job to come up with a reason to be a group. That is a really, really great mantra if you want to have a bad time. I'm going to put 5 to 7 feral cats in a bag until they get along. See how that works for you. Is that going to work? No, man, they're going to kill each other in there. That's exactly what's going to happen. Yes, if you have a group of people who don't know each other, who aren't friends in real life, they have to have a reason to work together. But they're playing their characters. Their characters have a reason to work together. Well, then give them that. Give them something. You need to. Mateus is big on the stick. All right. I'm a little more liberal with the carrot when it comes to this. You know, like working together will get you, more things, more stuff. Better idea to work together. I don't do the stick until they go, no, I understand if I work with these guys, I'll probably have a better time, but fuck that. I'm going to do my own thing anyway. That's when the stick comes in because they're stupid. They have to be unstupefied. Usually it's head trauma that does that.
I remember a character, some abjurer at some point that somebody on this panel may have played that kind of would you say it would have needed a stick?
A diviner to be fair.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Now that is the classic example. I played a selfish sandbox player. I made a character, and the character's ideals and goals were counter to the rest of the group. And guess what? We didn't get along. Now, I made that mistake because I didn't meet with the group, learn about their characters to make my own to fit in, which is something I should have done. I didn't do that.
Well, the game master should have forced it.
Yeah. The game master says, hey, you have to talk to everyone while you're making a character. You're going to make in front of them or virtually in front of them, because it was a virtual game at that point. Virtually in front of them, so everyone knows where everyone's coming from. That would have been ideal. But we either didn't have time, or Al didn't think of it, I didn't think of it, whatever. So I made a character who, while playing my character correctly, did not fit in with the group, and I wasn't asked to come back. And I'm not mad about that, because I role played well. I played my character to a T, but it did not fit with the corporate culture of that playing group. So I was let go to seek different opportunities.
To me, that's unfortunate, because that's an opportunity for them as well. Like, then to respond to that conflict and make the story out of that conflict. That's
I thought it would be fun. They are adventurers, and I am a guy who has seen the aftermath of when adventurers leave after they've won the day, all of the burned buildings and the orphaned children. And so my character had a bad idea of what an adventurer was. I thought he was just someone who come in, get glory, stir trouble, leave without fixing any of the mess they made.
That's great stuff.
To be fair, that's what a lot of adventurers do. Right?
That's great stuff. And then the unfortunate thing is that the group you're playing with wasn't ready for that level of play.
They didn't ask for it. I forced it on them, and they rejected it. Am I going to be mad about that? No, I'm not going to be mad about that.
No, it was definitely a play. I mean, there were because I talked with Al and you also, and those players that he was playing with weren't right for that.
I'm not gonna disparage any of the players. I'm just saying this is what it was. All right.
But I'm saying that their personalities weren't for that. Yeah, that social contract was not.
Yeah. They had their social contract with each other. I did not fit. I understand. I get it.
Last super chat, then we're going to go on to the next question. Don't view it as much as a Railroad versus Sandbox, but Railroad with one linear story arc versus the world being a complete subway system with plenty of stations. Hold on, let me draw that in my head. I see what you're saying there, and thank you for the $5 Canadian. Hey, Sean, you're from Canadistan. Is $5 Canadian worth anything?
To Canadians, it is.
Thank you, Pedro. Appreciate that.
What can you buy with five? What is it, loonies? 5 loonies. What
loonies? Hey, I'm from Minnesota. Our state bird is the loon. Moving on.
Box of strawberries was $4 down the road.
Box of strawberries with some change left over. Look at that.
All right, so I think I don't even remember anymore. I think I have to start with Heathen Dog on this one, because I think I started with Sean on the last one. Yeah, I did, because I was going to do Lord Mateus, and I pulled the rug out from underneath him. So Heathen Dog, what are the main challenges you face when running a Railroad style game, and how do you overcome them?
Okay, the only there are
I should say players can't be an answer.
I understand. There are 2 challenges for a Railroad style game. You have to prep the hell out of it. You have to know exactly how the world works, exactly how NPCs are supposed to react, and the second challenge is to keep the players moving in the right direction without them realizing you're moving them in the right direction. That takes a lot of work and finesse. You have to create false choices. You have to create narratives that actually circle back to where you want them to be. And this is something that has to be practiced. This is something that you learn by doing. You have the idea, you try out, styles and ways, and then you find out what's best for you, what's easiest for you to keep all these sheep herded. You are a sheep herder moving your flock from one area to another. You don't want to lose anyone. So how do you do that? You figure out your method of doing that the most efficient way possible. And that's the hardest part, figuring out how to do it without letting the players feel the bumps in the track.
So how do you handle players that want to deviate from the main plot in a railroad game?
Deviation does have consequence. It's not going to be like, Captain, destroy Sodom and Gomorrah over here. No, it's
Mudcore.
Fair enough. Yeah. it's going to be something small but noticeable. Loss of goods, loss of status, loss of renown. People are going to start thinking badly of you. Minor problems are going to happen to you more often. One of the hallmarks of a story hero is the fact that they are immune to the little shit, to the small stuff, the day-to-day stuff that normal people have to go through. Paying their taxes, getting parking tickets, cavities, whatever, syphilis. They don't have to worry about that. They're the hero of the story. They have plot armor for all that dumb crap. But if you go off plot, well, you lost your armor.
Hello,
Now,
syphilis.
Go syphilis, right? Yeah. Well, syphilis, it was an example that was.
You really are harsh for people who go off script. Congratulations, you went off my script. Now you have syphilis.
It's going to start like failures now are going to have a little more things, like you have a failure in your attack, your gun jams, but now the firing pin is also damaged. As a hero, you wouldn't have to worry about that. You clear the jam, you keep killing Nazis, right? No. Your gun is now damaged, you must repair. Your car runs out of gas. The mail gets lost. Stuff like that. Little stuff is going to start happening to you, and it's going to escalate until you learn your damn lesson and get back in your train car. You stupid little petty player.
Okay.
I don't say that. It's in my head. It's internal monologue at that point.
But yeah, game, I'm bringing penicillin.
That's right. Yeah, everyone. Hey, if you want to go off script, great. Get a really, really good gun and like 5 Z-packs, and you're good to go.
All right, we're going to go in opposite order this time because I want to end with Sean on this one. So, Lord Mateus, on to you now. What are the main challenges you face when running a railroad? Why can I not say that word? Railroad style game, and how do you overcome them?
Well, the big one that came to my mind, and is also the reason why I've switched to sandbox style games, is burnout. There is a lot of prep to keep things kind of going with the adventure path, the railroad. Everything from dealing with the consequences of the last session to where things ought to go, where you think they're going to go, all this stuff that you have to kind of constantly work at. And this game I ran in the 90s that lasted about 10 years, we didn't play consistently. Like we'd go like maybe a year and a half, and then I'd have to take a little break, or like a new game would come out. We're like, oh, hey, let's play 7C for a little while. And then we'd get back to my 2E game like a few months later. So that's what I would do. I'd end up taking breaks. Okay, this is the end of a season, or part 1 is over, or something like that.
Go train.
Yeah. But yeah, I think DM burnout's the big one, and it's one of the reasons why I'm actually more partial to the sandbox style now, just because I don't have the amount of time I had when I was a teenager, where I could just sit there and write timelines and all these NPCs and stuff, and all these plot hooks and story arcs. Now I can just front load it all, press play, and just see what happens.
I feel attacked with that timeline comment.
But those are important things you need to put in there, right? So to make it work. So, but like I just don't have the time now, and so I guess that's another thing. Like time is an issue. So if this is something you're passionate about to run, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But for me, I have to like really think about that. But burnout, I think, is the big one.
Okay. I don't think either of my other follow-ups are good for you, so I'm just going to move to Sean. And Sean, what are the main challenges you face when running a railroad-style game, and how do you overcome them?
back when I did it. Yeah, similar burnout. There was a lot of time. There was, well, at least the players at the time I played with, there was sort of an expectation of providing the experience, as opposed to now where most of the players are just self-motivated. But back in the day, and the other thing is, I mean, I can do it now. I've had improv training, but back in the day, I didn't know what to do when players went off script. That was a problem for me. I didn't know how to react. And so it was like, nope, back onto the track. Now I can react to it, but that's experience and well, a little bit of training. So yeah, no, I had the same. I found it ceased to be fun. And I found I wasn't looking forward to playing when there was an expectation. Now I'm like, when's the next game? I want to see what happens. I want to know what's going. So there's an excitement there. And, I run decades long games that just keep going. Without burning out, without ever not wanting to play. So that was the biggest problem I had when I was more story and railroad oriented, because that's how I thought it was done.
Okay. I mean, I don't have much more to add. Anything you guys want to say to each other in terms of what the challenges are of either one?
The whole burnout thing. RPG Exile, you just started that. Go ahead and bring that up.
Oh, okay.
GM and Railroads always burn me out, but sandboxes never do. Weird. It's not weird. It depends on what kind of person you are, and that reflects on you as a game master. Like me, I love being a Judeo-Christian God level power being, moving everyone around like marionettes on puppets, and have them not understand that yes, there are strings on you. It gives me joy, and so I never tire of it. If you're not that kind of person, I understand.
I never shit on you for the style of play. No.
Yeah, there you go. See, there it is. Yeah, if you're that kind of person, then you're never going to get burned out on being in complete control. Just like God, absolute power, no accountability.
Comments of Heathen Dog do not represent.
It's a power trip then. Yes, Nostromo, yes. Being a game master, there is a certain level of, you have to have a level of power greater than all the players put together. You have to. You have to be able to do things against them whenever you want. Now, you have to decide whether you should, and the players can decide you're a dick and walk away. So you have to temper yourself, but no one can temper you.
That's a little bit of a fine balance. It's slightly off topic, but as whether you're Railroad or Sandbox, it's, you have to oppose the players, but you can't have a vested interest in opposing them.
Right.
So like if I'm playing the villain, I have to play the villain to the best of his ability.
Yeah. The villain has to try and kill the players, right?
It has to be top notch.
As a game master, you have to be on the villain's side to the point where you're not going to cheat against him, but you're also not going to cheat for him.
You have to be fair.
That's a fine line.
That's
you have
a fine
to learn
line.
to
I agree, and that's part of the fun. That's enjoying. That's where the enjoyment comes. Knowing that I did it. I really hammered them. They earned that victory.
There's a couple of chats that I'm going to pop up here. They're on opposite sides of the fence. Adino says, I'm not convinced on the definition of a railroad. Hold on a second. And then Truffle says, I'm not convinced of the definition of sandbox. Just so if anybody missed it, during segment 1, right at the beginning, because I knew that was going to be an issue, I had them kind of define and agree on a definition of what we are using today for the terms of sandbox and railroad. I'm sure we get 100 comments, in the future on this about that's not what a sandbox is, that's not a railroad is, and that's why it's in segment 1.
We had to define for the purposes of this conversation,
yes,
what a railroad and what a sandbox was. So if you want to go back, you can go back, and we did that in the very first thing. So there it is.
Okay. Anything else? I think, there are no super chats during that one, so we can move on. So I just want to let everybody know that the next segment is how to use each style. Now, I know Heathen Dog's on a little bit of a time crunch, which is why I kind of sped through those a little bit more, but hopefully he can give us time for this one, because I really think that the next one is going to be the important one. It's going to wrap up a lot of what was said in segments 1 through 3, and that's going to be how to use each style. Already read the super chat, so let me throw up our little image here. Where is it? There, boom. So just as a reminder, some Rando RPG live stream airs on Fridays at 6 p.m. Central Time, except for the last Friday of the month. That's when we do our members only stream for those who pay us for their memberships. Once this live stream ends, the full live stream will remain available to YouTube members only, while these 4 discussion segments will post to the public a month later. So if you're not watching it live now, you're watching it a month later in 4 segments. And of course, if you enjoy this discussion, please subscribe to this. Please like this video. How about that one? There we go. And subscribe to the channels, all of the panelist channels, which hopefully you can find in the video's description.